What's up everybody, this is Ven, and I welcome you to the M.O.C Spotlight where we take apart what you build. For today's episode, we'll be going over Hien, created by fuh-min. As always, before we get started, let me tell you about my method of reviewing, which involves a point system that is based on 3 fundamental attributes: the overall appearance of the M.O.C, the build of the M.O.C itself, and the concept and ideas behind the M.O.C's creation. Each quality will amount up to 5 points, leading up to a final score that will be determined at the end of the episode, and please remember that this is all based on my opinion. So let's get this going. At first glance, this kinda reminds me of the character Ranu, except he had a bit of a growth spurt and he ate one too many hot Cheetos. Has a good looking stature and a really nice sort of solidified appearance. Obviously, the main thing that sticks out to me is this whole feature at the back, with all these flames sticking out in this brilliant looking pattern, looking very reminiscent of wings, as you can only see them on the back of this thing. Gotta say, that looks really nice on this creation, and it complements the weapon very well. I don't know if I've ever seen those pieces before, but whatever they are, I gotta get my hands on them, because those look awesome. It really helps that the M.O.C without the wings looks fairly basic enough. Nothing too busy that would clash with it. Just a nice and basic dark red and black color scheme. A very underused helmet. And then these transparent blue parts that don't really go with anything else, but they work here, throwing in a bit of contrast with the overwhelming amount of red that's in this creation. I like that for the most part, this M.O.C has this smooth sort of aesthetic, while it still has some of the detailed, robotic texture of Bionicle in just a few areas. And this works to a point that neither aesthetic really overshadows the other. No, there's actually some good balance here. I think there are a lot of good design choices here, from helmet to shoulder armor to weapon and on and on. But I gotta say, it does look quite basic without those fiery wings of fire, hotness, and such. I don't know, seeing this M.O.C without them makes it look really incomplete, at least to me, and that just kinda goes to show how important it was to add these wings from a designer perspective. It gives this M.O.C a more defining feature, some characterization, you know, something that makes it unique. I do have 2 nitpicks right off the bat though, and one of them is this ponytail on the back of the head. I don't think I like that very much. And also the tiny wrists. And now I understand that the reason why they're tiny is because of the parts that are used here, but it still bugs me to see how small they are. Because aside from that, this M.O.C has some excellent proportions. And there's no further complaints I can really make. This is a really good looking M.O.C. It also looks pretty good in terms of the build. Pretty much every portion of this M.O.C is a custom build, but everything looks put together so well. And for something that's put together by so many different parts, this creation looks so smooth and complete. It also looks like it has quite an excellent amount of posability, except for when you're trying to swing this guy's arms backwards, because those wings would just get in the way, and that ponytail looks like it might hinder head movement a little bit. But on a brighter note, this M.O.C has a great bit of coverage all over it. Nothing really sticks out of place. His internal organs aren't like exposed or anything. Everything just kind of fits together perfectly. Even these system parts that are used on the hands don't look like they're going anywhere. And aside from being a really well put together action figure, this M.O.C also carries 2 functions. In case you haven't noticed, this guy can literally carry these fiery wings on his back, or if you don't feel like having them there, you can always take them off. I think that counts as a function. If that doesn't, then there is this function of storing the sword hilt on his back whenever it's not in use. Okay, yes, I'll admit these aren't exactly functions as much as they are just little neat features that are included, but they are still really cool nonetheless. Now, as far as the concepts go, I have no idea what this M.O.C is supposed to be. Whatever the big idea was, it must have been a cool idea because it was executed beautifully. I want to say it's probably an interpretation of a fire toa, but I really don't know. The website that this M.O.C was posted on is in a completely different language than what I'm accustomed to, meaning it wasn't in English. So while I can't comment on that, I can at least comment on the ideas that were thrown into this, such as the wings or halo sort of thing. looking like it's providing the creation with some sort of fiery elemental power, which is then harnessed to energize this weapon, this fire sword weapon thing, and also this Hadoken-esque fireball. Or maybe it's not the Hadoken, maybe it's the Kamehameha. I think it's safe to assume that since the website that this M.O.C is found on is in Japanese, that the creator is probably Japanese, and that would explain why this M.O.C has a little bit of a Japanese sort of vibe to it, I think. I guess we'll never truly know all that much about this M.O.C and the creator's intentions, unless one of you guys is Japanese and could probably translate the website for me. With all that said, there isn't that much else I have to comment on. Looks like it's gonna be a fairly short episode this go around, but that's okay. So let's move on to the final scores. In terms of appearance, this M.O.C receives a 4 out of 5. Overall, I really enjoy the look of this M.O.C. Even without the wings, this creation looks really good. Maybe a bit basic with the color scheme, but when you throw those wings in there, that makes for a really nice looking contrast in the colors. And it's also got a great looking stature. And speaking of which, when it comes to the build, this M.O.C receives a 5 out of 5. Because like I just said, this M.O.C has a great stature, and that's supported by, well, literally supported by, its intricate construction, which is all really nicely covered up and compacted. And with the feature of removable items on the creation's back, I think that's just icing on the cake. Quite an inspiring usage of parts. And finally, as far as the concept goes, I'm not exactly sure what I want to put here. Because like I said earlier, I'm not exactly sure what the creator intended for this creation. I guess just based off of the ideas that I can make out from this creation, I can go ahead and just give it a 4 out of 5. To me, it seems like a kind of Japanese redesign of a fire toa. While there are a few design choices I'm not too sure how I feel about, such as the ponytail on the back of the head and the tiny wrists and whatnot, overall it has a really nice form, and I still really enjoy those wings, or whatever the heck it's supposed to be, because that really sells it for me. Any other features this M.O.C has is just a bonus, like the unique choice of the helmet and the weapon storage feature. Overall, just a lot of good ideas thrown in here, and if I had to make any sort of big complaint about it, is that there aren't enough. But then I'd probably be asking for a bit too much. So with that, we're left at the final score, which is a 13 out of 15. Wow, that must mean I really like this M.O.C, and I do. I feel a little weird for not having all too many complaints about it. But hey, there's always going to be people that will disagree with me and have a couple of complaints. This is just my opinion. So go ahead and post yours in the comments below, or even on the message boards, or do whatever you want. But at least visit the message boards, which is my #1 reference for taking a look at M.O.Cs. So if you're wondering, maybe one of these days you're like, oh, I kind of want a creation to be on the M.O.C Spotlight, post it to our message boards at board.ttvpodcast.com under the LEGO Creations category, and you'll have a higher possibility of your creation being recognized by me. So thank you all for watching, and see you all next time.